October 25th, 2023. This hearing is being held and required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the Favored Neighborhood News on October 19th, 2023. It was also posted in the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. First order of business, minutes for approval, August 9th, 2023. I checked them out. I didn't have any issues with them.
I move they be accepted as presented.
Second?
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. All right. New business. Certificate of compliance. Paul Boucher and Nancy Durfee, 7 Morton Lane, SC file number 0010566. A certificate of compliance was filed by Paul Boucher and Nancy Durfee for the property located at 7 Morton Lane, map 14, lots 15H and 17. The applicant proposed improvement, construction of gravel roadway with existing right-of-way, installation of associated drainage system, installation of proposed water main, and construction of a residential dwelling with associated utilities, grading, and driveway within a 100-foot buffer zone of a border and vegetated wetland. Plan name is map 14, lots 15H and 17. Morton Lane existing conditions plan dated May 25th, 2021, revised August 9th, 2021. Topographic as-built plan provided by Haru Engineering LLC dated March 23rd, 2023. Review matters presented, votes may be taken. Well, we did a site visit on Saturday, and from what I can see, it was 100% vegetated, and it looked good. Looked good to me. Any comments?
No problem.
No, I thought it looked good.
I think they're good.
All right.
So,
Entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance.
Second.
7 Morton
So
Lane.
moved.
Is there a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Can you remember the 2 letters?
Oh, you wanna,
They need to be
Yeah,
filed, they need to be contingent upon those 2 letters
Oh,
being
that's
filed.
correct.
Right.
That's
Okay.
right. Those other, yeah.
So, all right, so I'll entertain a motion to issue the certificate of compliance contingent on the 2 letters from council that were submitted and need to be signed by us to be filed at the registry of deeds. And
So moved.
do they have to be registered?
yeah, they had to be
Yep.
registered.
Then why didn't they register?
It's a long
It's a
story.
long story,
All
but
right,
Yeah.
so we're into it,
Yeah.
whatever, I just changed things in. Hold on.
Quick question. I think you tried, and they rejected.
It doesn't matter, we resolved it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
yeah, it's been resolved, so we're gonna file them with the registry of deeds, and then we will,
Oh,
If
so
We
we're
needed to give them a letter authorizing them to file those 2
Oh, is that
letters,
why?
that's why they wouldn't accept it.
Well, I
Perfect.
usually go down to the registry of deeds.
And they
the
know
girls
her and
me.
they would have
So
accepted
they
it.
would have seen the letters that were contained in the document,
Yep.
with the document, and they would ask me, these letters, do you want them filed? And I would have said yes.
Okay.
So now where the town is gonna pay the 106 to refile them again,
Okay.
just to refile, and then we'll
That
file.
works.
We already have their check waiting for the COC, so
All right.
just gonna take a
yeah.
little bit of the
So
town.
we just have to file
Thanks.
that first, and then we can file the
Yeah,
COC.
Clean.
takes
Alright,
a
sounds
couple
good.
weeks for
Yeah.
the
Well, they can
town
file
to issue a
together.
check.
Oh, well, together.
Yeah, they'll all be filed
Same
together.
time, right?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a motion, is there a second?
Right.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Against, abstaining? All right, that's unanimous. All right. This is a public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, this is an RDA for the Acushnet Company, 115 Manchester Lane, map 11, lot 25C, dot 34. A request for determination was filed by Acushnet Company for property located at 115 Manchester Lane, map 11, lot 25C, dot 34. The applicant proposes tree clearing adjacent to the test fairway within a 100-foot buffer zone of a, it says a bordering vegetated wetland. Okay. The applicant is represented by Bill Madden of GAF Engineering. Plan name is Site Plan Showing Proposed Tree Clearing Limits, dated October 10th, 2023. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. Mr. Madden, floor is yours.
Evening, Bill Madden from GAF Engineering, here on behalf of the Acushnet Company. I have a large size plan here. Would you like half sizes? I happen to have them.
Yeah, sure.
Bill, there is an easel in the corner if you need it.
Okay, thank you.
Or Doug will hold it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, that's fine too. I think I have like 7 plans or so. You might have to share a little bit.
That's fine.
Why you guys just give it to us, I can just split it.
There you go.
No. I just forgot to grab my.
There's probably a regular size one in the file right there.
Okay, there you go. So on, I guess the last time we convened on this matter, it was Saturday morning. We were out there at the site looking at what the project consisted of. And the project consists of really, we're clearing, it's a non-jurisdictional, isolated, vegetated wetland is what that area is designated as. Unbeknownst to me at the time we made the filing, our letter from the wetlands consultant that described the resource area and the non-jurisdictional nature of it was supposed to be submitted with the RDA. It wasn't. I forwarded a copy of that letter.
That's why I paused when reading that, but go ahead.
Yeah, today. So anyway, Brad Holmes is the wetland consultant who flagged those wetlands and made the determination that it was an isolated vegetated wetland, non-jurisdictional under the Mass Wetland Protection Act. His letter notes that. His flagging stations that he identified, those are the flagging stations that we field located by survey on the plan and placed them on the plan. So the flagging stations that he identifies in his memorandum are the flagging stations that are noted on the plan. You might recall that we did pick out a few of them to help orientate ourselves on the site. There is a piece of priority habitat on the site. We wanted to note that it is on the site, but it is not in the project area. So we're adjacent to it, but not within that. And we have indicated that the habitat area on the plan with a little bit of a hash line on the boundary of it. So that's another line that's on the plan, and that line falls on the non-fairway side of the chain link fence that we walked down. The chain link fence was kind of our guide on the site, kind of put us where we wanted in conjunction with the wetland flags. So that's how we found our way around the site. One of the things I did tell you that I would find out was actually the methodology that was going to be employed when they did the tree cutting. And this is the second phase of tree cutting that occurred down there. The first phase that we looked at was on the, I'm going to call it the southerly end of the site, at the end of the fairway. And that had been done previously under a previous. We didn't have to file on that when we went. We had a discussion with Pat. It was evaluated as non-jurisdictional, so we went in there and did it in that manner. In this instance, since the area was a little bit more significant, it was suggested that we go through a formal filing, which is what we're presenting to you now. But in any event, the way they're going to do it, the contractor that they've hired to do the work is the same contractor that did the first phase. And what he's planning on doing is working with his equipment predominantly on the golf course side of the fence. So he's intending to take a bucket truck that has in excess of 20 feet of reach from that fence and reach over behind the fence and top and limb the trees that he's going to cut down. Then they're going to take that material, lift it with an excavator on the other side and place it on the other side of the fence to take it away. Whether they're going to chip it or haul it away, a combination of both is what it was told to me, chipping and hauling it away. So the activity with the vehicles moving in and out of the area is going to basically occur on the fairway side of the fence. They preferred, the Acushnet company preferred to do it that way. We think it's a good idea. They want to be able to really control the level of activity that occurs there because of the, you know, the maintenance that's going to be required to repair whatever damage is done to the fairway and the shoulder of the fairway after the trees are cut and the material is removed from the site. So that was that's what we discussed with Acushnet company as far as methodology goes. They were happy with the way it worked the last time, and I think that it should work out fine. Same contractor, same methodology this time around. We did note on the plan to remove a couple of sections of fence in the event that we had to get back behind there. I'm sure that some of the larger trees, once they top them and bring them down to, I don't know, say 12 feet, 14 feet left, you know, the bucket truck's not going to do them much good at that point, so they will have to get in there and do some of the work, but we're trying to minimize that activity just to preserve the character of the land to the maximum practical degree. And that's pretty much what it is. The whole purpose of it is to improve the growing conditions on the in the fairway, and like I tried to explain on Saturday, you know, this vegetated area, when it gets close to like a golf course, a farm field, cranberry bog, whatever, those trees, they become a host for pests and insects and what have you. So it increases the cost of doing your maintenance. You know, they have to spend additional money on herbicides and agrochemicals and things of that nature in the event they have those infestations of pests and weeds. So they prefer to try to minimize those costs, and by doing these type of maintenance projects, it helps them in managing their course in the condition that it is. You have to admit, it's beautiful. They do a very good job out there on pretty much everything they do. And that's a long and the short of the project and the request before you tonight.
Yeah, any comments?
So, I guess I'd ask you the difference between ILSF and the isolated BVW being non-jurisdictional. I haven't bumped into the isolated BVW being, you know, non-jurisdictional, so.
Oh, well, it's actually not bordering. It doesn't touch, the wetland doesn't touch a river, a pond, a lake, or a stream.
Okay.
So therefore, it wouldn't be bordering that water body. So in the absence of being bordering,
So it's an isolated vegetated wetland.
isolated vegetated wetland is what it is.
Okay.
What it is.
Do you have any documentation from the wetlands person to give us? Did you get anything? I haven't.
No, no. But I did do a deep dive into isolated vegetated wetlands, and they aren't in our jurisdiction.
Aren't.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I thought I'd read BVW, that's all.
Did you get the letter that Bill had sent in?
I,
From the wetlands scientist?
Yeah, and I sent that over today.
okay, maybe.
The ECI letter, did you?
I didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
Really?
In there that
No, I talked to you, but I didn't get it.
Oh,
It might have gone into where we're
secretary,
having,
well, here, you take
trash
my
folder.
copy that I have, I can get another one, but
I
that's
checked
the,
until I left at 4.
no, I'm
and I
sorry,
talked to Pat.
sorry to hear that.
but it might have hit the trash folder. We have a
Yeah, we have problems.
firewall issues with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in there he makes the
All right.
statement that it's isolated.
You wanna see it?
vegetated wetland.
I believe it. I'm no wetland scientist, but I'm familiar with the property behind it, just from walking it, and the bordering, the major resources, you know, quite a ways back.
I just want it for the file.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Right. And the grade change in the back.
Yeah,
behind
it's,
the
I mean,
fence.
the fairway pitches down right there, and then the hill outside of the fence pitches down right there, so I mean, it makes sense why it's there. But,
It does get really wet in there too.
but
Well, you could see like, there was a couple little gullies that you could see were like damp and moist on the other side of the fence. My own personal opinion, I mean, you got one of your flags of like 8 feet off of your fence. So you're gonna protrude that another 12 feet beyond the flag that's there.
We're 20 feet from the back of the fence.
Right, so you got a flag, I think it's like A21 is what I saw, or A20. that was real close. I think it's 820.
Yep.
It looked like to be, that flag looked about be 8 feet off of the fence, if that. And so if we're gonna go another 12 feet beyond that flag, is what you're proposing.
817, 818, that's all inside the fence.
No, those were outside.
We have some inside the fence.
Okay, which ones were the outside? You had one
Yeah.
over there that was right around
17,
there.
18, yeah.
It was close to the corner,
But like,
if I
yeah,
recall.
20 was clearly.
But the question still at hand, is that something we can...
Well, if those flags were put up for
jurisdiction or
wetland,
not?
is it not our jurisdiction to mention it, or it is?
Well, technically, it's not in our jurisdiction. So, based on what they've done there in the past, this is just my observation, in my opinion. We set a precedent by letting them do clearing in the past
Correct.
already. And they cleared way beyond what appeared to have wetland plants on the property.
Mm.
But that area right now looks like it's thriving. It wasn't filled in. They were just using it for access. However, the isolated wetland that is there remains untouched. So as long as they don't fill, I would say as long as they don't fill it in, then
Even like in that
it
corner.
shouldn't be an issue.
Even in that corner, you got a tree that's uprooting and the roots are going out. They're not going down, so which means the water table comes up high.
Right.
And it was a small tree to be uprooting. So that's why I'm kind of leery about it, as in, it's definitely a wetland.
Right. It's an isolated vegetated wetland, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not in our jurisdiction.
It has all the many of the characteristics a wetland will have, that site, but it's isolated. And by that, we mean it's not touching a pond, a river, a lake, or a stream. And to be a bordering vegetated wetland, which is covered under the Wetlands Act, it has to be considered a bordering vegetated wetland. So that wetland system needs to touch one of those other resource areas, one of those water body type resource areas.
There need to be a hydraulic connection
Yeah,
between that
Right.
wetland and there.
yeah.
It's a very
Yeah,
technical.
Hence the isolated,
disclosure.
Hence.
Hence the isolated.
Because I know right on the backside of that fence, I used to ride down there all my life, that gets waist deep in water. That whole backside.
That's where the gully is.
Yeah,
You'd be up
yeah.
to, I sunk my four-wheeler in there when I was a kid, underwater.
Well,
But if it's not in our jurisdiction,
And also,
You don't really ever say about
right.
it.
Right.
Yeah, this is-
we're not
this is not-
intending to remove any of the stumps. We're not
characterized as
intending to
wetlands.
fill any of the area at all. So, there's not a loss of any storage capacity that might occur within that wetland. We're not cutting a drainage swale and draining it. So the features at the surface of the ground are intended to remain the way they are. This just happens to be categorized in the manner that it is, because it no longer not no longer, but it does not border a water body.
I did get a call from a couple of people that had looked at this, and their question was, do you plan on cutting any more trees down after this? Because this is like the third time since I've been the agent that we've been in to cut trees down. So I think once we did an administrative approval, then we did an RDA, and now we're here with this. Is this the final ask? I guess I'm asking, can this be the final ask? Because you're starting to get further and further.
Right.
It's almost like a
It's
segmentation.
growing.
Yeah, and I think that when we look at the limits of the fairway and the golf green and the proximity of the fairway and the greens to the vegetated areas, if we do look on further up the fairway, there's much more distance between the fairway and the wooded portion of the site as we head, I'm going to say, to the northeast on the piece of property. I don't know with 100% certainty whether or not this is the last time that we would
Yeah,
come before.
we don't have any plans, right now for any more tree cutting. Who knows what the future holds, but we would always come before the board.
I guess the comment that resonated from the resident was, this test facility has functioned, for years without having to cut trees and cut trees and cut trees. And when they looked at the plan, they just thought that this was a really big swipe of trees. You're covering a lot of ground there, if it was explained to me properly. So I was kind of looking for, can this be the last time that we head back into the buffer zone?
Not even just that, it is,
Well-
it's not a golf course, it's a test facility, like.
Well, essentially, it is a golf course. I mean, we have pros come in there and people doing live testing, so it has to be exactly the same as a golf course.
I go to Rochester.
Well, that being said,
every
is the
month.
intent to completely clear cut that entire area?
No.
Is the intention to be somewhat selective and allow some growth to remain?
Mhm.
Or, I mean, it is, it's a good swath of area. I mean, I just
Reason for
thought
bugs.
maybe there could be some compromise,
Even like the bugs and everything, like, it's still gonna, they're not gonna go nowhere, would they just have to travel another 20 feet?
Well, part of it too is to increase the sunlight on.
No, I understand that. I see that.
Increase
I mean, but
vegetation
again,
there.
I think you could be somewhat selective. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean,
You
know,
could accomplish,
it's not gonna-
you could accomplish almost the same exact thing you're asking for from just a good pruning.
I would respectively disagree with you on that. I've spent quite a number of years dealing with this exact issue on many agricultural projects. And it may seem like it's only a couple of hundred feet, but when you start to look at what the cost is, the cost and the implications of using, the agrochemicals that are necessary to properly manage a facility such as this, it's very expensive, very time-consuming, very labor-intensive as well. So the whole part of the effort is to improve all the growing conditions down there, have an efficient operation going, and try to do what we can do within the limits of the regulations that are present. The question that you raise about other work, I don't know down the road whether Acushnet Company, they're spending $13 million right now on a building facility down there that has been permitted all through conservation, through planning in town. That's going to be like state-of-the-art, a nationally recognized facility for the Acushnet Company. We don't know what their other future plans may be at that location. What if, for example, they intended to increase fairways, add another green, just like we did with the short game course. You might recall we had the test facility there in the rear behind the parking facility. That was once wooded too, up by Apple Blossom Lane, and that was converted into what they called their short game facility. So, it's.
So you kind of just answered our other question, that there is a good possibility you're gonna be asking for more.
right, at some
I
point,
mean,
they're gonna
Well, I
want to
think
expand
nobody can
again.
really.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
So there's some spot
That
that
goes
there's
without
woods
saying.
20 feet on
pretty
the
obvious.
fairway side of the
I mean,
fence already. So then you're gonna take another 20, so that's 40.
well, yeah, some areas, yeah,
Even
sure, some
then-
areas could be a total of,
There's no way a bucket truck's gonna get them in that left corner, the thing's gonna sink. I know that for a
well,
fact.
that's not our issue,
Yeah.
so.
Well, it would.
But are we
Yeah.
discussing this for nothing because it ain't us?
Well, I mean, they came to, this seems more like of a courtesy filing, and
Yeah, we like to keep you guys informed of everything we're doing, even if it's a non-jurisdictional isolated vegetative wetlands, we still want you guys to be aware of what's happening.
I just don't see the need to go past the fence. I think you could take everything from the fence and prune the stuff on the other side of the fence and still get the same goal you're going at without taking everything right out.
In
Because
my,
technically, you can take 30% of a tree without detrimentally hurting it during this season that we're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I respectfully, though, I would need to defer to the certified turf manager who runs that facility, I mean, in his opinion as to what the best maintenance practices would be out there. I can support his position because I believe that he's 100% accurate in what he's saying. And, 40 feet, it's the length of this room almost, maybe a little bit more. It's not a tremendous amount of distance, and wind blows stuff, wind
Yeah,
blowing
times it
leaves,
by 100
debris,
though.
everything out of the trees. It's all required to get picked up, it's all required to be managed, so that's what our effort is to try to keep things so that they can be well managed, well maintained, as they have been for a number of years. And as you know, every year, everything keeps growing in and growing in and growing in. And perhaps 20 years ago, when the vegetation was out at that fence line and maybe a little further behind it,
It was lower.
wasn't as prevalent as it is today, but, time does run its course and, takes its toll on facilities.
Right.
So I have a question, that being said, how did this 20-foot beyond fence line gauge get implemented? How was this number chosen?
It was the turf manager from the Acushnet company who runs that facility that chose that number. He felt that distance from the edge of the fairway to the fence, and then from the fence back 20 feet, would improve the growing conditions in that area, as they have improved the growing conditions at the green and the fairway at the end of the facility currently. So the work we did 2 years ago, they're already seeing the benefit of that maintenance activity. It is improved growing. There is less fertilizer. There is less fungicide needing to be applied. There is less herbicide needing to be applied down in there, and it's attributable to the openness of the area now.
When's the last time the site was flagged?
Flagged?
Oh, recently.
We just did this.
Recently?
Yeah, this was done in October. There's a note on the plan. It was done this year.
Yeah, I think it's in the
So your option tonight is whether to find that the act applies and have them file a notice of intent and take a deeper dive into it, or find that it's not going to require a notice of intent and allow the RDA maybe with some conditions.
Right.
And maybe you want to take some time to think about what the conditions would be and set the conditions at your next meeting.
Yeah, so I agree with you in a sense. I mean, like I said, there was a precedent set. They've already cleared. The isolated wetland over there that they did the same clearing from is still the same characteristics of the isolated wetland. It wasn't disturbed, it wasn't filled, it had Phragmite growing in there. You know what I mean? So it doesn't seem, it's not like it was filled in and it's not an isolated wetland anymore, because it is, that from what I could see. So I really don't have an issue. I mean, I like, the idea of, maybe potentially some conditions. But I would say, going to your point with, how much clearing is going to be, maybe going forward, it would be worth a notice of intent,
We should find out if we need it or not, I think, at the end of the day.
But,
First of all,
I mean, I don't, based on the work that they've done and based on what's proposed here, I don't see it being an issue. That's me personally. But, I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Sounds like we're all up in the air.
But,
I tend to agree with you, Ryan, that
it still has the
there's
characteristics.
been a priority already set for doing this type of work.
But it's not a priority that we set only there. We've allowed tree cutting, around town in general, and we didn't have the 25-foot no-touch back maybe when some of that happened.
Right,
This is outside the 25-foot no-touch.
right.
So it wouldn't be out of order to do the negative determination on the IDA
Right.
and say, okay, but maybe put a condition that next time you want a notice of intent. And you want a final plan, final tree cutting,
Yeah.
You can't segment these things. And when you start clearing more and more land, you avoid tripping other requirements that might kick in as you increase the
Yeah,
acreage.
whether it be stormwater or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it could affect us on another larger project in town.
But to like what Bill said, what they have done is requiring less fertilizer and all that stuff, and that's less
Yeah.
stuff that's going into the ground as well.
It's all a plus.
So that is a plus.
And when I looked at it, I just felt that it was, you know, I have the ability to administratively approve cutting down a few trees, but that was a hell of a lot more than a few trees, and I wasn't comfortable with going there. So, it's up to you folks.
And if I could just add also, DEP has a policy statement, it's for work in a buffer zone to a BVW, and it's number 99-1 if you're so inclined to look at it. They outline the permitting requirements of that when we're within the 100-foot buffer zone to a BVW.
Right.
They outline the permitting that should take, not necessarily the permitting, but the applications a project proponent should put forth. And the whole idea is to try to have them put forth RDAs when the activity was going to be greater than 50 feet away from the bordering vegetated wetland border.
Right.
And a notice of intent if the commission believes they're in that resource area and they require more review. The whole objective is to give the Conservation Commission and DEP some reviewability of the projects. And that's what we felt that the commission would be interested in having some review of the project. And I think that's why Pat, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Pat, but I think that's part of the reason you wanted to have us file the RDA.
That was my suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's for BVW.
That's for BVW, and this is, like I say, it's a non-jurisdictional, that's, and I can understand you might have a little difficulty with that, but that is the way it's written in there. You know, there is not a category, there's not a paragraph on isolated vegetated wetlands in the Wetland Protection Act or the regulations that's required. You won't find it. It's not a jurisdictional area.
No, I only found case law on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I have,
Someone could make a motion to make a negative determination
yeah, I mean,
and see how it goes.
I'll entertain a motion to issue a negative determination.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Happy ending to a sad story.
No, I mean, that's good. They were all great questions. You know, we're happy to explain and what have you, and we'll keep in mind.
We have a lot of new members. Commissioner DeBarros is in the tree business.
Yeah.
That's his expertise, so, you know, there's some new knowledge
No, that's, I mean,
on the commission and
that's
fresh
good.
eyes and,
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much for your time tonight.
thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, guys. Is there a motion to close that public hearing?
Motion to close?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, stormwater.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Hayes and Garfield Street, Rob Rodericks, discussion, review matters presented, votes may be taken. Mr. Rodericks.
Has anybody seen a full-size plan of this yet?
No, I only
No, I
see-
haven't.
Here we go. Pass some over them.
I think I have actually. I saw it.
I have enough sets of plans to go around, if you're short.
I am short, but my whole family is.
How we go?
That's beside the point, Jimmy.
Yeah, what did you give me?
So for the record, I'm Dave Dickman. I represent Robert Roderick, who's with me this evening. This is a project which he intends to develop himself. He's not only an excavating contractor, he's a builder of houses. So this is a property that he's owned for a few years now. And he's always looked at it as a potential for development. And beginning of last year, he started exploring doing something with this property. For those of you who haven't been to the site, it's literally right down the street behind Knox Electric, large building. This isn't a formal public hearing, we're here for discussion purposes. So last fall, Mr. Roderick, he and his attorney went to the Board of Appeals for a special permit to develop this as an over 55 development. So the plans that you see in front of you were developed several months after he did that process through the Board of Appeals. We have in our bylaw the availability of doing an over 55 development by zoning, but it's basically one sentence. From there, it's allowed, but there are no criteria. The planning board's actually in the process of creating criteria for the next one that comes forward, perhaps bigger. He went to the ZBA, asked for 5 dwelling units, and they gave him 4 under a special permit. I wasn't involved in that. He and his attorney presented the project, and they had 2 public hearings, and ultimately the Board of Appeals approved 4 units to be placed on this lot, which is 16,000 square feet. From there, he came to me. I wasn't sure if we were going to take the work on, but I told him I advised him he should go talk to Pat Hannon, stormwater agent, before he goes and applies for a building permit to make sure. We'll find out whether he needs a stormwater permit or not. I don't want to speak for him. He can speak about that. That was last fall. He came to me. I decided to take on the work. So over the course of the winter and the spring, we developed a set of plans. We had to do a full-blown survey of the site. We did a topographical survey. As you can see, the sheet 1 is basically shows you the neighborhood where it's situated. This large parcel is Knox Electric. We got Cumberland Farms over here in the corner. Captain's Place is down in this location. So the property abuts 2 different streets. It's all upland. There are no wetlands within 100 feet of this, probably within 500 feet, maybe even 1,000. There's no flood zone here. There's no natural heritage. There's no isolated vegetated wetlands. The sheet 2, if you were to go to sheet 2, it's topography of the site. It shows the patterns of where water runs off from the site. The high point is the southeast corner of this bump out. And from there, the water travels this way, and all the way back here. It kind of spreads out 3 different directions. You'll see test pits that we located, that we did test pits. The soils are excellent. The test pits are shown on sheet 5. The next sheet shows you basically a full-blown site plan, which is consistent with what was approved by the ZBA. The footprints are the same. There are 4 units. They're all to have separate driveways. The driveways would be pervious pavers or crushed stone. Mr. Roderick has indicated to me he'll go with crushed stone. So the project is creating impervious area for 4 dwelling units, and when you add up the dwelling units, it's less than 5,000 square feet. The site itself is 16,000 square feet, which also falls under 40,000 square feet. So it falls under the exemptions. When Mr. Roderick met with Mr. Hannon last fall, he told me he needed to do stormwater. So he came to me. When I decided to take on the job, we did. So we put together a set of plans that actually complies with your stormwater regs. The impervious surface we're creating basically is clean water, roof runoff. We're proposing, if you go to sheet 4, there's a lot of detail. Essentially, there's going to be a very large roof runoff system, subsurface system put between the 4 units. So all the roof runoff will be directed into 4 separate manholes that'll direct the water into this stormwater recharge system. In the higher intense storms, the water will overflow through the manhole, which is in the northeast corner, and then into a dry detention pond. And that pond is basically 2 feet deep. We have 1 foot of freeboard, so it's never really gonna have water except for during a storm when it drains, and the water will go out an outlet pipe heading towards Hayes Street. We submitted a full-blown stormwater report. I think it's probably like an inch thick. It's in your file somewhere. The letter, so we intended to apply for a stormwater permit. I have a cover letter dated August 1, 2023, which was drafted by our company. Attached to that is the stormwater application, operation and maintenance plan, stormwater report, full set of plans. From there, I'd let Mr. Rodericks take it from there and explain the process of how he attempted to submit this to the board. I'll let him speak after I'm done. Since that time, since he's gotten nowhere in 3 months from the attempted time to submit this, we've come to the conclusion that we are under the exemptions and we don't have to file a stormwater report. Stormwater application for the runoff from the site, because we're less than 40,000 square feet, it's residential, and we have less than 5,000 square feet of impervious area. So we're here this evening to ask the commission to make that determination that a stormwater permit is not required for the stormwater system that we did design in compliance. We do, however, recognize that in developing the site and putting in the stormwater, it required us to put a retaining wall in along the Knox property. So the wall runs north-south on Mr. Roderick's property, the entire length of the property. And the wall is there. It's not a very tall wall, there's a detail on sheet 5. It's not a very tall wall. The purpose of the wall is so that we can stop water from going off-site and drain it in the directions of both streets. So if we didn't go to the extent of stormwater, we probably didn't need the wall, but it's a part of the design. Mr. Rodericks wants to do the right thing. He wants to put in the full-blown stormwater system, and that includes grading the site per the plan, including the retaining wall. And so we recognize that that is longer than 12 feet. It will require a stormwater permit. So Mr. Rodericks requested that Joanne run a legal ad be put on the next public hearing. We will notify abutters for that public hearing to occur, and we're hoping it's just a stormwater permit for a retaining wall.
So before Dave turns it over to Mr. Roderick, I'd like to comment for his comments.
Okay.
Okay. So if you go to page 8 of the stormwater bylaw, under the B is exemptions, C is administrative review of certain exempt projects. Okay? So on C, for administrative review of certain exempt projects, it says, any land disturbing activity which is exempt from the permitting requirements of this bylaw and which is performed in connection with a project for which a building permit is required shall be reviewed by the Stormwater Review Board to ensure that the design, testing, installation, and maintenance of erosion and sediment control operations and facilities shall adhere to the standards specified in this bylaw. I've already gone through this with your client, with Building Commissioner Andy Bobola. Your client's already gone through this with the town administrator, Mr. Kelly, and Mr. Bobola. And when I saw the plan and saw the basin, the bylaw also requires a 20-year surety for the maintenance and possible replacement of the basin. So I don't see how you're exempt. There's a building permit being issued for this, and under the bylaw, that's what this says.
What
And
bylaw?
that's my authority as the agent.
What bylaw?
Contacts.
Stormwater bylaw. Article 9. I got it right there,
Yeah,
David.
I printed it off your website,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go past page 7. Is there something different than them?
Yeah,
I printed it off the website, and I go,
Oh, no, it says page 6.
page 8.
Page 6,
Why is there 2 different ones again?
it might be the
think
font
there is.
size.
Yeah.
could be.
Oh.
But,
But I'm on the town website right now, so it would be page 6,
Six on the,
administrative review.
yeah.
Okay, well, I don't have any problem with that statement, boy, that's why we're here.
Yeah,
We want this
that's
board
right.
So-
to review it
Yeah, you have to.
and make a determination
Right.
whether we need to or we
As part of
don't.
the,
Actually have a stormwater permit
Right.
issued for the stormwater itself, which would require peer review. Certainly a retaining wall doesn't require peer review.
the basin will. And if you, and so Beals and Thomas didn't want to do the job. You guys don't want GAF, and you didn't like the price from GCG. So I had sent an email back that if you folks want to, and under the bylaw, if you don't like the peer review, you appeal that to the selectmen. And if you bring in some that you want to do the peer review and they approve it, they're doing the peer review.
Where does it say that because there's a dry detention basin, that it triggers peer review?
Says dry wells.
It says that anything in conjunction with a building permit requires a stormwater review.
right.
That's why we're here.
But it requires peer review. It shall be peer reviewed, is in the stormwater bylaw.
If you need a stormwater permit.
Yeah.
If somebody comes in for a single-family dwelling on a 60,000 square foot lot and they're clearing 38,000 square feet, you don't send it to stormwater for peer review.
It has a basin on it, Dave, and the basin has to be
The
maintained.
basin's
You sub-
there so
you
that,
could- Let me
so-
finish. You submitted a maintenance plan for it. So there's cost for the maintenance plan. The basin may need maintenance.
that's all irrelevant, Mr. Hammond.
Okay, so,
It's
And may
irrelevant.
need,
All right,
hold on,
Hold
one
on.
person at a
Go ahead.
time.
Look, let me make my point, let me finish my thought. Somebody builds on a 60,000 square foot buildable lot, Mendel Road, and they're clearing 38,000 square feet. And they decide to build a basin on the bottom hill of Mendel Road because there are flooding problems on their downhill neighbor. Be a good guy. They don't need a stormwater permit, but they build a dry detention pond. That means that they gotta have it peer reviewed and come through you when it's already exempt. If you're exempt, you're exempt.
It's a hypothetical situation, Dave. And
so then,
It's really no different than what we have here.
what if you just say,
We don't need the
you're only
pond.
doing that for the
We can get rid
stormwater,
of the
right?
pond.
So you
It
get
makes
rid
no
of that
sense
whole,
to do it, but we can get rid of the pond.
that would, and then,
And we're
well,
still exempt. Does that make any sense? That argument doesn't hold water.
it holds water with me, and that's my authority as the agent.
Well, your authority, you're not the stormwater review board. They are. And that statement right there in the first 4 sentences down, to be reviewed by the stormwater review board. It's their determination, not yours.
So,
And it's either exempt or
Read
it's
it.
not.
Well, I disagree.
all right, this is my thoughts. The site is 16,000 square feet. They're creating, I just did the math, because you didn't calculate in the decks. The 4 decks
The
that are
decks.
10 by 12. So total, grand total, it comes out to 4,960 square feet of
Of the area.
impervious surface that's being created. Our bylaw says, so what I don't understand is, what triggers the need for these stormwater controls? Is it, I don't, that's what I don't understand. Why you had to design this
he didn't.
giant infiltration pond for this project.
Yeah.
So, because while it appears it's being subdivided, I mean, it is one lot, but if you look, also in our bylaw, what it says is, let me go back to that real quick.
It will remain as one lot.
Right, But-
And whether you count the decks or not, the decks underneath decks is crushed stone. So it's not an impervious surface.
under administration in our bylaw, it says the stormwater management manual. Stormwater Review Board may utilize the policy, criteria, and information, including specifications and standards of the latest edition of the Massachusetts Stormwater Policy or approved local equivalent for execution of the provisions of this bylaw. So, if you look at the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook.
Everybody has that in their folders.
Under applicability, it says the stormwater management standard shall not apply to a single family house. This is not.
Right, correct.
A housing development and redevelopment projects comprised of detached single-family dwellings on 4 or fewer lots, provided that there is no stormwater discharge that may potentially affect a critical area. That doesn't apply to this. Multifamily housing development and redevelopment projects with 4 or fewer units, including condominiums, cooperatives, apartment buildings, and townhouses, provided there are no stormwater discharges that may potentially affect a critical area. So my question is there a critical area? Because there's nothing else in our bylaw that would apply to this project, I don't see.
Critical area would be an area mapped by natural heritage. It could be potential wetland, I suppose.
Yeah, no, but there's
A
nothing
water
even
supply.
close.
We don't have any of those. We're in the middle of the village.
So that's where I'm at on this. I don't see the need for that basin. I don't know. I don't, Pat, all right, what triggers the need for these stormwater BMPs to be in place?
I didn't design the project, Ryan. The engineer designed the project.
Oh,
And it
come
came in
on,
with a basin on
Pat,
it.
come on,
No,
Pat,
but-
please.
But they're both right. They're both right. Because Pat's right, because it does say a dry well, but he was just trying to be a good neighbor at the end of the day. It's not that he needed to do it. He was doing it so the water doesn't go onto Mr. Knox's property,
Well, no, that's-
which he was worried about, which is in another meeting if you watch.
That's the.
Yeah, before Mr. Roderick speaks, I'd like to restate, I wanna read that administrative of certain exempt projects. Any land disturbing activity which is exempt, and this is this, okay? From the permitting requirements of this bylaw and which is performed in connection with a project for which a building permit is required, shall be reviewed by the Stormwater Review Board to ensure that design, testing, installation, and maintenance of erosion and sediment control operations and facilities shall adhere to the standards specified in this bylaw. Erosion control.
But that's a facility. The basin is a facility.
It says of erosion and sediment control.
And facilities, you read it.
It doesn't say that. You're
You said
making words
facility,
out
you
of
read
it. I just read it. It's right there in the text. Maintenance of erosion and sediment control.
If I may, I'm Robert Rogers, I'm the owner of the property here. And I just want to step back and tell you that this has been a long process with this town. And the town approached me, the town planner at the time, approached me and asked me if I would consider doing other than a single-family house there, because I fit under the village zoning, and that it was needed in the town, and they were looking for this to happen. So that's how this whole process started. So as far as Mr. Hannon goes, I'm a little upset about what he's saying, because when I first went to sit with him, we didn't have a plan drawn with the detention basin that triggered this. I went there with a site plan of 16,000 square feet, showing approval of 4 foundations, 28 by 40. There was no drainage design for him to tell me I needed to go get a peer review done.
No, I read you the same information about it's a
But
tied to a building
excuse me,
permit.
can I speak? I haven't interrupted him. Can I speak, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just think it's only fair to do this professionally. He can talk after I'm done. I just want to make these points clear. I presented him a plan with this, with no drainage on it at all, just showing 4 lots. It showed, the lots never changed, the house, the units, I'm sorry, the units never changed. The units were 28 by 40, nothing's changed from the day I started this project till the day we are today. He's the one that told me I needed to go to peer review, I needed to file for a stormwater management because of this, that, and he read whatever he was reading. I sat with the building commissioner after I left him and said, hey, this is what I need to go through. He called him up, he came down to the office, we sat down, he read off these pages that are there. I still didn't agree with what he's saying, but I don't know what the bylaw is. If that's what it is, that's what it is. I went back to Dave and said, Dave, I'm gonna get a lawyer, I'm gonna go through this thing to fight this. How much to put a drainage system in? I had no idea it was gonna come back the size of Walmart. I mean, parking lot, it's kinda crazy for this little development. But I went ahead and did it. When Dave was done with this, Dave gave me a packet, told me I needed a check for $250, and then He had told me originally the peer reviews would be no more than 1,500. The most expensive one he had in the town was 2,500 at the time.
Never said
And
that.
okay, he told me it was because it was near a critical area with the drainage. He absolutely
Never
did say
said
this.
that.
Okay, but anyways, regardless, I
I'm
did
words
what.
in my mouth, never said it.
Okay, stop.
I don't need you to.
Guys, stop. Mr. Roderick has the floor.
Thank you. So, regardless what it was, I'm telling you what was said to me, it's irrelevant. I went ahead and I told Dave, just let's design a drainage system. I didn't know it was gonna come back like this. Dave finishes the plan, gets the stormwater packet done, gives me what I need for the application. I called up and I spoke with Joanne. Joanne told me Pat was off for the next couple of days. I said, well, Dave asked me to make an appointment with him, to sit down with him, to go over what he had designed, and sit with him. So she schedules me in to come have a meeting with Pat. That time never comes. It's set for 11 o'clock that day. The night before she calls me, she says, Pat wants to know why you're coming in to see him. And I said, well, I'm just being advised from Dave that I should go sit with him with the packet and present it to him what we're gonna do and bring the two checks. One check for the application for $250 and the other check for the whatever. I brought 2 blank checks, so I didn't even make out the check for $1,500. I brought 2 blank checks to the town. So he told me, she said, you need to go to the building department with this. Okay, so off I go the next day. Building department's not in. I make an appointment with Andy. I go sit with Andy. I give him the whole packet that I tried to turn into the town conservation. The building inspector says, what are you here with this for? I don't deal with this. You have to go to conservation. I said, I don't know. Conservation told me I need to go get a building permit for it. So this is how this whole thing. So the building department calls him up again on the phone on intercom and says, Pat, I cannot issue a building permit to this gentleman. I have 30 days to react. I have to either deny it or approve it. And I can't approve a plan that doesn't have the check marks in it, meaning fire department, water, sewer, conservation, whatever it may be. So he calls him up and asks him, Pat, what am I supposed to do with this? I mean, it's not gonna be done within 30 days. He said, well, then deny the project. Okay, that's what he told him right there on the intercom. I guess you didn't say that either, but I was sitting there when he said this. So Andy said, well, we're gonna start denying people that come in for a building permit that really shouldn't be here in front of us. He wouldn't accept what I presented to the conservation almost 3 months ago. Am I correct, Dave, when we were done with this? So then here we are today. I've had to make some calls and try to find out why I can't get in front of the board to find out why I'm even here. Why am I here going through this? And why has it taken almost a year since I've been through the zoning board of appeals and I still don't have any further direction today than I did then? But my point here is, when I went to him and he told me I needed to go get stormwater design done, there was no detention basin. There was nothing drawn on the plan at that point in time. Now he's saying it's gonna be peer reviewed because there's a detention pond or a basin.
It didn't have those 5 units on it originally, did it? It was always just the 4?
It was 5 originally, then we went and got approved for 4. And that's what we presented to them, was 4 units. When I came in the second meeting. So the first meeting, we presented it with the 5 units. The second meeting, when I came in, we took off the 5th unit, and we came in with the 4 units, just the way it's shown here, without the drainage.
The one that you showed, Pat, did it have 5? No, just 4?
Just 4.
Okay.
Just 4. Thank you.
So you have a special permit from the zoning board of appeals?
Yes, I do. For 4 units.
Pat, if this project came in front of you with 4 units, designed as it is, without that stone water, without that stone wall, what?
Bylaw says in association with a building permit.
Okay, then why are we just hearing about it right now?
We're not. All right. Where does it say that in the bylaw?
We just read it a couple of times. It's on C.
Yeah.
You-
5C.
You're saying the administrative review?
Yeah.
So why have you denied me that right to come here?
No, but, well, I don't, so, because of administrative review, he had to design a full stormwater system there?
No, I didn't tell him to do that. He hired Dave, and Dave put in a basin and system.
All right,
I didn't say you needed a basin. I didn't say you needed anything. I said it needed to be reviewed in conjunction with a building permit. That's what I said.
right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can't get a building permit without all the check marks. The building department cannot give me a
Right.
building permit
Right.
without all these check marks in place. So I don't understand that comment. So it'd have to be a denied, I'd have to go in, he has 30 days to act on a building permit, either yes or no. So why would I present them with a building plan if I'm gonna get denied from the building department?
Right. Well, so here's my thing. This project doesn't disturb 40,000 square feet, and it doesn't
It
disturb,
all comes down to the building permit, Ryan.
right.
Yeah,
But
It
they,
all comes down to the building permit.
right.
You guys can do what you want to do.
No, I'm just trying to understand here why this needed to be designed with the stormwater basin when it,
That's up to his engineer. We didn't tell him to design it with a basin.
He
My
made it
client
clear.
told me that he sat down with Mr. Hannon and he told him he needed stormwater. It needed a stormwater.
Well, it doesn't
He
just-
needed- he needed full-blown stormwater.
our bylaw says,
Joanne, you were in the office.
I don't,
Oh, yeah, you know. Yeah.
our bylaw says if 40,000 square feet is disturbed,
I gotta get something out of my car.
or 5,000 square feet,
What it is.
again? All right, so what do you think? I don't think it needs,
So why put the basin in?
well, because neighbors were complaining that they were worried about water. and
No, they
this and
really
that.
didn't, though. They really didn't. They were concerned about parking more than anything.
Minute,
I was at that meeting.
minute,
You're right, bro. I
the
was
exact
there.
minutes was 54 minutes. I watched the whole thing and wrote it down. They did mention it.
Okay,
So
they
I was just
mentioned
trying
it.
to go in
Yeah,
and
yeah,
think
okay.
that. They mentioned it, I thought maybe, okay, that's why he came into cahoots and did this. And then you tell me, it just all gets mixed up.
To
But
me-
if it's not needed, it's not needed, then why did we even here?
our bylaw would not require these BMPs put in place because of land disturbance.
I agree, but I will say this, and I haven't said it to my client, but I'll say it in front of him. I wouldn't put together a site plan that just showed 4 buildings, crowned up runoff going everywhere.
Right.
Correct.
I wouldn't put my name on it. So, at a minimum, the roof runoff would be in place. The pond probably won't see water except for, well, some of the intense storms we see regularly.
Yeah, 10 years.
And it won't hold water, and it will be grass and it can be mowed. I don't see it as a huge expense. In the end, we end up designing something that we can be proud of and say it complies with the stormwater regs, with or without your peer review, you know?
So the question is, do we need peer review? Right. Because we already just said, right, it doesn't fall under it. So
Well-
why are we gonna make him go for peer review if it's not even needed?
What stops me from being a regular homeowner and saying, hey, I want to put a extreme storm system, drainage system in to correct all my stormwater and have him design it? What stops me from doing that and not have to come in front of the board at all? Why couldn't I do that on my own property and control all my own water on my site if I just chose to do that, which is what I'm chosen to do here? Why can't I do that? It's no different. It's really no different.
Well,
It's just-
like Pat said though, it does say dry well, and now it's a dry well, so.
Where,
It said it right here. We're still on the same page.
all section C says,
Over here, I
Is
don't
that
know
every
where I
time-
read it.
You might be looking at the regulations.
the
Is that what
regulations,
it is?
right, we have the bylaws and the regulations are two different things. What section C says is that anybody that submits a building permit application to Andy, he's to send it to all departments, including conservation, and make sure that they're not letting some, you know, like somebody, there are some spots in town where people have filled their lots up to this, and then graded them right to the lot line.
Right.
And
And then
there's
the
no
other
way
guy
for
gets
water to go,
flooded.
But the guy, leaves, right? So those are the things he should be looking for under the bylaw. If it's exempt, it's exempt, but he should be looking at things like that. Well, this isn't that type of project.
Right.
And never mind.
So you only have to build a Volkswagen, but Rob is willing to build a Porsche.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
I just
I think the
realized-
retaining wall would still have it in there because water will run unimpeded to Mr. Knox's property as it shouldn't, okay?
Correct.
In a heavy storm, there's gotta be water that goes there now based on the contours. But
Definitely.
I would still have the retaining wall, I would still have grading a certain way, I would still have the roof recharge system. And whether we put the pond in or not, I don't agree with what he's reading on section C. It says for erosion and sediment control, because if you're exempt, he's no longer looking at stormwater management components. So if somebody comes in and submits for a building permit application, and they have a roof runoff system that is 3 times the size of their little leaching field, which they can do if they want to, like Rob said, I want to put all that groundwater back in the ground, and I'm going to be the best environmental guy going, right? Doesn't mean that he can then say that you got a peer review. He's wrong. He's just misreading what this says. He's interpreting the way he wants to. It's black and white, clear as day. It's an exemption.
So typically, we do send most stormwater projects to peer review. But I
Before
don't-
issuing a permit,
Right,
as you should,
right,
if it requires a stormwater permit.
right.
But it doesn't.
I'm
Well, I believe it does for the wall. There's no question. Which is why we asked Joanne to run the legal ad so that we're here 2 weeks from now asking for a stormwater permit to be issued for the retaining wall. That's clear as day. It's in the bylaws.
But if the wall,
Well.
you didn't even need the wall.
Well, in my opinion, we do whether we do the pond or not.
Right.
We needed to control
It's
runoff on
gonna
the site.
eliminate any of the runoff.
Right, you don't want.
We need to exclude
flood Robbie,
runoff from going
Knox.
onto the abutting property. There's really there's 2 abutters, and the one, you see, to the east is uphill.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're running down onto us, and then there is one to the southeast, that we need to pay attention to, but then there's that one abutter on the west side, and it's the whole lot line.
Right.
We need to,
Right.
do the right thing. And so the wall is needed, so, in essence, we need the wall. All I'm asking for is determination by the board that we are exempt for the development for stormwater management. But we are not exempt for the retaining wall. And we'll be here in 2 weeks. We'll notify the abutters, and Mr. Knox will be notified. If he has an issue, he can come in and talk to us about it.
I don't have a problem with that.
Neither do I.
So, what I really wish is, when I found out this was going to peer review via email, I think this discussion should have occurred a long time ago, is what I think. First off, looking at these plans, looking at the impervious surface that's being created, it doesn't disturb 40,000 square feet. It doesn't create 5,000 square feet of impervious surface. It would not trigger a stormwater permit other than, now, no, yeah, I don't understand how it applies to the site. You don't.
Even with the wall, what's the reason you're saying it does because of the wall?
It's in our bylaw.
The bylaw.
The wall, anything over 12 feet.
A wall over 12 feet
Right.
is subject to a stormwater permit.
Anything beyond that, yeah.
Why
And
is
the
there
purpose
stone
of
behind it?
a retaining wall or a stone wall
Yep,
is so that
either
you don't
one.
deflect water onto somebody else's property by building it as a barrier.
And then, if you
We're doing
look
the
at,
opposite by putting the wall in, is to deflect water from going to the neighbor.
if you look at the stormwater handbook, it specifically exempts this project.
Yes. If you do a subdivision, okay, 4 lots or less, you can build a subdivision road and you're exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act, stormwater management. Think about that.
Right.
So
This
what
isn't
the-
a subdivision.
So
this is-
ultimately, what the hangup is, this wall is
No.
That's not a hang-up,
No,
that's
the
straightforward.
The wall is
The
gonna fit
hang-up
on
is,
the wall.
Mr. Roberts has been stonewalled by your agent for the last 3 months. He wouldn't even put it on the agenda. Send him to the building department
Well,
first.
that's not,
He already told him in the fall, right to his face in a sit-down, that he needed stormwater. I told him, I don't see where it would, but go sit down and talk to him. So we did. At that point, I was just advising him. When he came back, he read something off, and it was a little subjective to me, but Rob said, you know what, just do it.
Design it.
Just design it. I can't wait any longer. I want to get this project going next year.
Digging foundation.
Now
going
he's
into
losing the year.
December.
I mean, part of it was our fault for taking so long to get it here, But we got it here.
What- what
I handed it to him in the end of July, August 1st is my date of my letter. Here we are, 3 months later, we've gotten nowhere. And we're at the point of, why would we pay? And, you know, I understand, we had a conflict with one of your engineers, and then another one declined. And then the third one was somebody you've never used before. And their quote is just as much as what he paid for the stormwater.
To design it.
To design it.
Right.
It's just a little, you know.
I really wish our agent was in here, because I have a question for him. But in our bylaw, it doesn't say shall be peer reviewed.
He keeps saying that.
I
I've
don't-
been saying
I
it for the
don't
last
see
year and a
it.
half, 2 years. I don't know where it says it either.
So I want this commission to be able to get to the point where, obviously, I'm not a certified engineer, but I want to be able to look at a project and say, well, you know, you're a certified engineer, and if this, you're putting your name on this project, and you're saying that it's gonna, and then use our common sense by looking at this plan to be like, well, you know, it looks like it's designed very well, and I don't see why that wouldn't work. And not to mention, it's not necessary for this project, that we could be the peer review ourselves. I'd like to get to a point where the commission can say, all right, you know, peer review on a small project, because we did a project like similar over here. We're gonna send everyone, if you know, every project, you know, it should get to a point where we can.
But I think he mentioned, whatever he read, it said it's to be reviewed by this board, right?
Yes.
So a year ago, I sat with him. Why didn't he put me on the agenda then to present it to the board? Why, this is not 3 months ago, this is in March of this year when I sat with him with the plan, without the design of the stormwater. He should have told me, hey, he didn't tell me it had to be reviewed by this board. He told me I needed to have a design, stormwater done, and then go out to peer review. Those were his words when I sat down with him. I went back to Dave and said, Dave, you told me I don't think I need this, but he's telling me I have to do it. What's it gonna cost me to do it? Dave gives me a price. I said, all right, Dave, you know what? This project's gotta get moving. I gotta get going here, right? And so I said, design it. And did I have to? No. Now, the more and what I've had to do to get here, to get in front of you guys, to see today, what I've had to do this, yeah, he's right. I went to the town administrator. I've called some people, hey, what do we do here? I mean, I'm just getting roadblocked. He won't take my calls, he won't put me on the agenda. What do I do? I submit a plan, he tells me I can't submit it to him, I have to submit it to the building department. I go to the building department says, why are you here? I don't know, the guy told me I have to come here when originally I talked to Andy. Andy said, you gotta go to conservation, fire department, get all your check marks. Okay, so that's what I did. And I've gotten nowhere.
I mean, it's when you apply for a building permit, if you're building brand new in the north end of Acushnet, and you have to have a septic system, and you're in conservation jurisdiction, and if you're building a subdivision, you need a stormwater permit, you get all those three things in line before you go apply for a building permit. It's just common sense. You don't go apply for a building permit so that you can get denied. You gotta pay a fee to get denied. So, that's the last step.
All right, so what do we want to do?
All right, so, well, I mean, this is essentially the Stormwater Review Board looking at this, right?
Yes,
I would
and
say.
I want to be clear, we're not here asking for a stormwater permit.
No,
Right.
he's
This is a
looking, they're looking
discussion,
for a
we can't,
determination.
right, no permit can be issued unless it's a public hearing. And like I said, we'll be notifying butters tomorrow for 2 weeks from now for the retaining wall. That's what we would like to happen.
Right.
That's what should happen.
In our opinion, our position, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So my question is,
Because the wall, that's what
Because it's
it
more than 12-foot long.
That's what it says, that's what it says,
Oh.
but I think it's ridiculous.
with the basin, does that, you guys are okay with the surety to the town and all that stuff?
You don't.
I don't, yeah, I don't,
He's-
you're right.
He's incorrect on that. That's if you get a stormwater permit.
Right.
If you have a stormwater permit that's been issued, that's a part of the bylaws and the regulations. You gotta have a 20-year surety and all that. We actually submitted, we try to do everything on the up and up. Within the packet, there is a breakdown on what the 20-year plan would be. To us, it seemed a little silly because he intends to build the units and rent them and hold
Yeah.
the place. He's gonna perform the maintenance because he's gonna be the property owner. These are not gonna be sold and broken up individually so that you have an association. They're gonna be owned by the same property owner and then they'll be responsible for the maintenance. But, so with that being said, my point here is that that goes hand in hand with the stormwater
permit.
permit being issued.
Right.
If you're exempt, you don't have to put that in place. He's wrong on that too.
Yeah, but now if we put a stormwater permit onto the wall, can't we just like exempt the whole?
No.
No, we
You
have
don't
to
have
put
to-
it on
No, it's in the bylaw. We have, my whole thing is, my interpretation of the bylaw, it does not apply to this project, plain and simple.
And we agree.
And
Except
The
for
Massachusetts
I'll say,
Stormwater
except for-
Handbook
except for
says-
when we're talking about the stormwater, yes, the wall is a separate entity.
Right, and based on square footage disturbed and impervious surface created, it
Well,
doesn't,
I don't think, no, it still requires review no matter what. Regardless of
review by us.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
yes.
Not a
Yeah.
peer review,
And-
by us review.
I
Right.
didn't say peer review. And also, it does say that, that the building permit documents should be reviewed by us as well,
Right,
once that occurs. In that same section.
right. Typically, if it's, for
In
erosion,
other words,
erosion
final-
control.
The final proposal,
Right.
basically. If it's accepted by the building department.
Right.
And with that being said, I think that it should be streamlined for anybody to be able to come here, to be able to call and ask to be put on the agenda so they can talk about it in front of you and say,
Right.
do you think we need a stormwater permit? Please tell me yes or no. It shouldn't be so difficult.
Yeah, that's probably.
I asked to have this put on the agenda.
That
Yeah, so
determination.
I'll entertain a motion to make a negative determination for a stormwater permit for this project based on, for this project based on the Acushnet bylaw and the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. Is there a motion?
Yeah, could you phrase it as that you made a determination that the project is exempt per the bylaws and Massachusetts stormwater regulations?
Oh, yes.
Rather than a
Yeah.
negative sounds.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
But
Right.
we're only asking if you agree with our interpretation of the bylaw that it's
All right.
exempt, just to make that call
And then we
now,
wanna come back
relative
to-
to the stormwater system that we've designed. I'm
And then when they
guilty of
come back to
designing
the
it.
wall-
Have you applied for the building permit?
No,
yet?
they can't.
They can't, he needs a
can't.
signature from,
Applying is
No.
not the same as
no,
obtaining.
in order
No,
to,
it's two different things.
He didn't want to because
Well,
30 days.
applying and
Yeah.
per this section in the bylaw,
in order to.
that application is supposed to be shared once it's received by the building department with the conservation
Well,
commission.
when you go to the building inspector, as you're about to apply, they give you a checklist. Have you gone to planning board? Have you gone to zone of appeals? Has conservation signed off on it? Have the police
But I
department
don't
fired?
think you're deterred. You still have the right to apply for the building
You
permit.
do, but you're gonna get denied.
Basically, Andy Babola, current building inspector.
Yeah,
That checkoff sheet gets dispersed to all the departments to sign off. Like, for instance, Joe Correa, Board of
right,
Health.
I get it.
He's gonna look at it and say, oh, it's sewer. Okay, he'll check his. They'll go to the sewer department. Do they have access to sewer? They have to check the box. So there's that process that rolls through.
Right, all right. So, I'll entertain a motion to determine that this project is exempt from the stormwater permit based on the Acushnet bylaw and the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure yet, so.
All right, so that's
Phone.
4-0-3. You abstain?
No.
No?
You said yes.
Oh, you're in favor? All right, so that's 5-0-2. All right,
So,
so,
We'll be back in 2 weeks from tonight
okay,
for the retaining wall. I hope Joanne will cash that check now for $250. If you haven't already.
No, everything's still there.
Okay.
There was a question on the 250 versus 350. I think I sent that to Ryan, and Ryan said I could handle it.
You'll tell me what it is and I'll pay it.
Yeah.
You have both checks still, or?
Yep.
Did I write out the other check for the amount?
Yeah, both checks are written out. One was for 15 and one was 250. So if you read that
I'll
fee
save these for
schedule,
next week, or 2 weeks.
the fee schedule is confusing, but, I don't think I have it with me.
Jeannie, another, so which,
I think it's just $100 more, so.
so you want me to take the other check so I can void it, or you want to keep that, or you need that for the?
1,500.
You don't need that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just void that one out. and-
Sorry about the difficulty.
No, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It will be a nice project when it's done, I guarantee you that. It's gonna clean the place right up nice. So I'm looking forward to getting started there, but I still got a little bit of legwork to start the permit process now. Right, I'm gonna try. But I think I gotta wait for this retaining wall to get,
I mean, 2 weeks.
yeah, and then we'll go from there.
Yep. Joanne will be putting.
All
it on
right,
the
so I'll
agenda.
bring you another check for the
Yeah,
100,
we'll
and
swap
then I'll
that
swap
stuff
that
out.
out, all right?
All
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Billy.
All right. Next item, stormwater bylaw regulation. Discussion. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. Our agent had that put on the agenda. I'm not sure.
Oh, there it is.
You ready?
All right. Stormwater bylaw regulation, Pat.
So I just wanted to bring it to the commission's attention about what happens when the planning board reviewed the stormwater bylaw that some of you worked on for so long. Mr. DeVignan's on the planning board also, and he took the opportunity to shred the stormwater bylaw. I was offended that he laughed through the whole thing and thought it was funny. He was making fun of the legal terms that were used in there. He wanted words stricken like water of the US. Water of the US is required by EPA. They wanted to take it out the ability for the Stormwater Commission, you folks, to make any regulations without them being approved at town hall. You would be the only commission in this town that has to go to town hall, to town meeting, to get a regulation approved, and it would never happen.
Right.
He's an engineer. He practices in this town. He has a vested interest in defeating some of those requirements of the stormwater bylaw. I think those were self-serving comments by Dave DeVignan. So there was some significant edits made to the bylaw. Jamie Kelly sent it, after you folks spent 2 months or 3 months working on it. And it got sent to Conoco to say that it was okay. And you folks voted to approve it. Jamie Kelly edited it and removed me as having the authority as the agent from the stormwater bylaw, and said that all of you folks would have to have the authority, and that anytime something went wrong, you folks would have to go out and do the work and do the cease and desist orders and review the plans and do all of that. And that's just ass backwards. Jamie Kelly's trying to disassemble union jobs that are popping up here while we negotiate our contract. And he's been contacting all of the elected board members and appointed board members, trying to get them to take authority away from their department heads, so that the department heads that are in the United Steelworkers Union won't have the authority. It'll be watered down.
All right, well.
But hold on. I know you were on the meeting, Ryan, but you were
Right,
you
but
were distracted.
let's keep it, all right.
But there were significant changes recommended by Dave DeVignan.
Okay, so what are we just shooting at Dave right now?
No, so
No,
here's this is,
Well,
let
that's all I
me
heard.
intervene for a second. So what was determined was that the bylaw is gonna get tabled, and a subcommittee is gonna be formed. with me and somebody else, could be Doug, Christian, whoever on the commission who's interested in it, we'll talk about it soon. Somebody from the planning board, and also we're gonna have Kevin McHugh. I'm gonna recommend that Kevin McHugh be involved as well.
So Kevin Gaspar did get involved in this. When when the draft warrant came out, this language popped up. And Kevin Gaspar went to Jamie Kelly and said, look, you can't eliminate the stormwater agent. You can't take out the waters of the US. You can't take out all of these things. He said, I want Kevin McHugh to review it. So that Friday, before the last holiday we had, and it turned out the Conoco was working that Monday. They didn't have it off. So Jamie emailed it to Kevin McHugh. Kevin McHugh did a compare document of what you folks approved and worked on so hard. And there were significant changes in it. So he sent an email back to Jamie of what the changes were. Kevin got that same information and went to Jamie and said, basically, this is BS. We're gonna table this and get it right. And Kevin McHugh did say that because the permitting, the reporting year had closed on June 30th of '23, this wouldn't really be due until June 30th of '24, so there's no risk of a penalty to the commission or anybody else. But I want to remind everybody that on that MS4 permit, I'm the responsible party.
Right.
It's me. It's not anybody here that's gonna get a fine from a three-letter agency. But I've discussed it, and the three-letter agency doesn't have a habit of penalizing stormwater agents and people that work for municipalities. It's more of a veiled threat than anything. But it does need to get done.
We gotta get it done.
But more importantly, I really think the commission should work on a regulation. A regulation is gonna eliminate things like this happening. Because you, in that regulation, have the right to streamline permits and make your own local regulations that EPA doesn't have in their template. The stormwater bylaw we have is a template that comes from EPA, and you fill in the names of the town to protect the innocent, and that's basically all you have. But in there, it gives you the authority, you guys, to make your own regulation. So if someone's gonna build a garage, expedited permit, commission issues it, $25 fee, $50 fee, whatever it is. No stormwater review, none of that belong. And I recommend that we get that regulation going, because that's what's gonna take the pain out of the bylaw.
Right.
I really do. I think it would be a very easy thing to work on, and I think it's something that Kevin would work on us once we got the framework for it. And there are other towns that have made their own bylaws and changes.
We have the framework, don't we, already?
Well, we have a bylaw.
No.
I mean, we have a regulation.
No, I'm saying, he gave us a regulation framework as well, didn't he? I thought he did.
I thought that the commission said we'd rather get the bylaw done and then concentrate on the regulation, but my recommendation was the relief that the town gets is from the regulation. We can't change what EPA wants in the bylaw, but it gives you the express permission to make your own regulations locally.
Right, but from my recollection, it was, the regulation, we had it like a template, and it coincided section and blah, 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 like everything, kind of referred back to each other.
So tonight when I get home, I'll email Kevin and I'll copy you.
I think we had that, but
Okay.
he gave it to us, but we just put it aside and said, we'll get to that once the bylaw's all set.
But the regulation doesn't go to town meeting. It's a newspaper ad, it's a public meeting, and 7 days later, it's a regulation that you people drafted. The people that live in the town.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of value in getting that done. Because if the planning board is successful in getting that, it has to go through town meeting, you're never gonna get it. Bylaws don't pass, regulations, people don't like to pass that stuff. So, and just for clarity, I'm having a high blood pressure thing, I had to go take a pill.
Yeah, no problem.
So, just for clarity though, it's important to know that I just forgot what I was gonna say.
But I did attend after the selectmen tabled the bylaw. I did attend the next planning board meeting.
I watched it, yeah.
Okay, and I said, listen, we busted our butts on this, and
I was really,
You spoke
for
out.
lack of a better word, I was really pissed off that they made so much fun of it. I mean, they laughed through it. And Dave DeViney said, I've never heard of a certified erosion control specialist, ha, ha, ha. Well, there is such a thing, and it was a requirement before the CGP. And I don't know why development is called redevelopment, and all, but those were, and Jamie Kelly said, those are terms of art, those are lawyer things. And I object to an engineer thinking that he knows more than a lawyer. We need to take the advice of town council and the specialists that we pay to do it.
right, no, I agree.
Conoco does stormwater for the Department of Conservation and Recreation all over the state.
Yeah, I think that's what I presented to the planning board.
Yeah,
But if, it's recommended that we work on it together, that's fine. And as
that's
long,
fine, but I just felt it was very.
as long as
disrespectful.
Kevin McHugh's there to say, this is good,
Yeah,
then that's good.
I agree.
I'll be interested
But
too.
we really should work on the regulation and making things easier for people in town,
Yeah, I'll definitely
and that's what we say.
have Joanne send that around, and I'll start,
Yeah,
going through it.
please.
All right. Wetlands enforcement.
So I just wanted to, we talked about this when we had the other commissioners here, and we've got 4 new people. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, you folks all have the right to, if you see a wetlands violation going on, to stop and issue an enforcement order. And at the next meeting, I'd like to use the screen and show you how to fill out an enforcement order. Everybody should carry one with them. If you stop, and the reason for wanting to do this, if you see something on a Friday, and you see somebody starting to do something, if you could stop then and say, look, I'm from the Conservation Commission, you can't do this, you need to stop, you save them a lot of money before they get so deep into it that they've got to hire trucks and pull things out and start redoing things, because I may not get there till Monday or Tuesday, and a lot can happen. So, I would like to get everybody trained in issuing an enforcement order. I would like the commission to allow Joanne to find an outside company, because the town manager's not cooperating with the IDs. You guys need IDs. You can't just walk into someone's property and say, I'm Eric, I'm from the Conservation Commission, and you need to believe me. It's not gonna fly. Nick was hesitant to issue IDs to you guys. Everybody else has one, and I don't know what that's all about. But maybe there's a company for $15 an ID that will make the commission IDs. So that's what I wanted to do on the enforcement side.
All right.
And if you do fill out an enforcement form, you're okay to sign it, and it would be ratified at the next commission meeting. And when you gave them to me, you'd say, our next meeting's on this day, you need to come to the meeting. And the commission either ratifies your order or they don't. So, but it could save people substantial money.
Or at least clarify what they're doing too.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you got a question.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
I'm not here to hurt you.
Right.
Just, what's happening here? Give me that.
So all the other selectmen, boards, everyone has some type of a credential, and we don't?
Correct.
What's wrong with this picture?
In Uxbridge, I showed you guys, we had an ID and we had a wetlands enforcement badge. Because DEP recommends that you have a badge. It really sets people back when you walk in and say, I'm from the Conservation Commission, and you have a badge that says wetlands enforcement.
So that being said, I mean, whose
And
office
you
do
can
we
get into
need?
the ballgame for free.
So that being said, whose office do we need to visit?
Get a gun?
We've already visited. I would just prefer that the commission would approve to spend a few bucks to find IDs outside, and we can resolve that at the next meeting of where we can get them. Joanne can do that research.
In your spare time.
Yeah, I mean,
And maybe we make one last attempt through the chairman to email the town administrator and say, look, are we gonna have to go buy these outside, or are you gonna have Nick do it? The equipment's here, the cards are here. It would take 15 minutes for him
Does
to
the
do
council
it.
on Aging have, like, something years ago, my mom used to have a senior thing issued. Maybe they have cameras, and maybe they have that equipment. I could reach out to Heather and ask.
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
done
worth
that.
asking.
I could try.
AAA.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll send the town administrator an email, that's no problem.
yeah. Because Nick said he has everything, but he was reluctant to okay it. I emailed Jamie and it's been,
I'll reach
No
out,
reply.
I'll reach out to him and see where
I
he's
think it's
at
just
on
something
that.
simple,
Maybe I
picture
can,
and Acushnet Conservation Commission, and when your term expires or something like that. I think
Right.
It would be something, doesn't have to have your name and
Yeah.
address.
They have a
I mean,
date on it.
Address on you, anything, it just.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I can go either way with it. I do just fine without it, but if that's what the commission wants, that's fine. But I will email Jamie. I'll see where that's at.
There was at least one time when we were doing site visits before Pat was on with us. We were out. And the two houses are right together. The violation was on the guy that developed the property, not the two people that own the new houses.
Mhm.
We went to look at violations.
Get tossed.
And the first neighbor was very amiable, and didn't mind us walking around. Walked across the property line, next thing you know, the guy was out there like, he was not happy that we were in his backyard.
we had a guy come over with a shotgun. So, get off my property. We're from the Conservation Commission. You guys are nuts. Get out of here. So,
All right, understood. I'll
Yeah.
make note of that. Send it to Jamie. Yeah.
the police don't know who everybody is. If they come out, from the Conservation, yeah, sure.
Well, if it'll get me out of trouble, then.
He used to make IDs.
I don't think it,
Right,
I think they'll say, yeah, that don't matter. But anyways, all right, I'll send you an email.
Yeah.
IDs.
So then, we get a lot of questions about the, you want to go on to the next thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
groundwater protection.
Oh, so on the groundwater protection, I took this soil evaluators test, which is about perk tests and establishing where high seasonal groundwater is. And when we allow these basins, we really don't have anybody establish where high seasonal groundwater is. And the basins need to have a 4-foot separation from high seasonal groundwater so that there's treatment from the water that goes into the basin, filters through, and through the anaerobic process and chemical process, that water allegedly gets clean enough to rinse groundwater. We have a very small amount of people in this town that are on town water. A lot of people rely on groundwater. I think it would behoove you as development picks up, and if this zoning bylaw goes through that's gonna allow this density, up to 60 units on 10 acres or 20 acres, whatever it is, groundwater protection is gonna become even more important. And once it's dirty, you're not gonna be able to clean it up. You're talking parts per billion. So it would be good to get to that 4-foot separation when we have a basin installed. And we did the wrong tests at Wing Lane. So after taking this class, those infiltration tests we took at Wing Lane were worthless. It showed the water infiltrated, but it didn't show us where high seasonal groundwater is.
Mhm.
And if you drive down to 1050 Main from Nexamp where that basin's in groundwater, had that work been done, that basin would drain and wouldn't be holding water all the time, but it's in groundwater, so that was never done. I learned a lot about the different soil groups. We have engineers come in and tell us these are C and D soils and all these things. I now have access to all the soil maps, and you can actually hit a button and say, yes, this is what it is. It's Whitman sandy loam, it's this kind of loam. It was a very challenging course, but it was very worthwhile. And it definitely will benefit us in stormwater. But the 2-foot separation waivers and stuff for basins really needs to stop, because there's no treatment for that water. And the basins that are going in these big subdivisions hold significant water. And with the storms we're having and all these other things going on, it doesn't seem to be letting up. I think we need to get in tune with that. And that's that.
Okay.
I think they're definitely gonna start building them. We kinda have to.
Yeah.
We don't have any choice. We're way under the limit of what we're supposed to have as a town for over 45.
Yeah, the big debate though
Affordable
is at $300 a square foot, how affordable is that house gonna be? Because that was one very good question that Bob Brown asked, who's on the ZBA. He said, well, what's a house costing to build? He said, $300 a foot. I don't know how affordable that is for a senior citizen selling their house to downside. to move it to a $600,000, unit. And some people thought that rent would be cheaper than buying. It's gonna be more expensive. They gotta cover the mortgage and they need to make some money.
2,800 is what he's gonna be looking for rent for those
Yeah.
places.
And at 8% interest now, the housing boom is definitely gonna be in the bucket soon.
Right. Oh, I agree.
Someone 50 years old, they don't make that
I don't
kind
know
of
how
money.
people can
Yeah.
afford to build right now.
No.
I'm just glad I don't have an.
It all sounds good until you boil the numbers.
Well, actually, my mother-in-law was looking to sell and maybe getting into it, and she was here at the meeting, and when he said 2,800 a unit, my mother-in-law, like, I could never afford
But
that.
that's nothing.
I know.
So there was a house for sale near Key, and it was for sale for short money. It was $325. I looked at it as buying it to make it a rental, and it needed a septic system. And by the time I was done looking at it and looking what the cost of having it, the rent would have had to be $3,800 a month
Wow.
to even make $200 a month on it. Not gonna happen. So somebody bought it for $340, and they're gonna put a garage on it, and they're putting in a septic system, and they're gonna live there.
Right.
So for them,
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Next,
Agent updates, certificate of compliance policy discussion.
Yeah, so we've got a few things. Everybody always says it's not on the website, or I couldn't find it on the website, or it's a different document. Like this happened. I got 7 pages, you've got 8 pages.
Yeah.
So there's a package here of IDA requirements, notice of intent requirements, COC filing requirements, and then, I guess Joanne attached the stormwater fees, for you to look at. But I thought there was one more, amending NOIs,
Yeah.
so we don't have that.
Oh, the NOI, okay.
You guys have seen these before. I just want your permission to put them on the town website, and to get the town website so that stormwater stuff was on the stormwater page, and conservation stuff was on the conservation.
Yeah, and I had reached out to Joanne because, not Joanne, sorry, Pam, because the proposed stormwater bylaw was on the stormwater page in place of our stormwater
Yeah,
bylaw.
that's just, and we've asked the clerk's office about that, and, to her defense, it
It
not
goes-
her responsibility.
Right, it's not.
Yeah,
But I sent her, it wasn't mean,
yeah,
but I just said, hey, Pam, something ain't right here, and I had noticed it before, and it still hasn't changed, so.
so.
She went the right route. I
They-
think it's
they-
through the
they've
town
hired-
administrator.
They've hired a new person to replace Lisa Leonard, and she's very, very sharp, and she's very on the ball, and I think that this stuff will get straightened up pretty quick.
Yeah, oh no, it's all set.
It is,
Yeah.
okay. But
It was done the next day. Oh, as for this stuff, yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
no problem getting
Yeah.
on that.
Yep,
I think the stormwater permit fee schedule is already on there. But I think it's under, conservation, not
Yeah.
stormwater.
right. So,
But yeah, I have no problem with this stuff going on. Anybody else?
No problem.
I'd like to see a good map go get up that on that thing too, like a stormwater map
You want,
that's
you want
actually
to vote on
reliable.
that, or?
I don't know that there is a good map.
Well, then it has to be.
Oh, no, I'm saying, sorry, Eric, I'm saying, do you need a vote for this to go on to the, or?
No,
We're- Yeah, we're all.
It's just a consensus. that-
Yeah,
we're all.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Agreement.
Guaranteed.
What were we saying?
And guaranteed, we need something that where someone's gonna buy a house or whatever, they can go up and look at it and say, okay, this is stormwater, this is well.
Is that something we can do through Kevin McHugh? And give us a stormwater map of the whole town?
And on the stormwater bylaw, it states that we have to have a legitimate stormwater map on our website.
Yeah, that might be part of our MS4
So-
permit.
I'll
That's
tell you
what I
what.
meant, the MS4.
Another thing that I learned at the soil evaluators class is that there's an enormous amount of resources on the Mass Mapper, Mass GIS. I just never went beyond regulated areas and photos.
Yeah, if you start
So-
adding the layers.
Maybe at our next meeting, we'll spend 15 minutes going through Mass Mapper,
Yeah,
and everybody can see the different things.
Oh, yeah.
So, we had to do all this homework for this thing. So I used Lake Street as one of my tests to go through Mass Mapper and find it. And lo and behold, the entire parking lot that was rehabbed is a flood zone. should never been hit, but everybody missed it. The reservoir is still considered by DEP a class water surface water supply. It's still being regulated as a Class A surface water supply. That adds a lot of baggage to what has to happen with that weed abatement program. There's 1 million Title V buffer zones around that area that affect some of the work they may want to do. So I'd like to show the commission the mass mapper stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Stefan, there's a few of them too, it's not just a mass mapper, you can get like,
Well, and then there's another program that the assessor has, and I did ask that you guys get sent the links, so it's called Near Map, and they photograph the state 2 times a year from a lower altitude, high resolution, and only when there's good weather. And right now, there's an October picture out for some other parts of the state. I think it's coming this way. And I used it in my soil class to look where they dug their test pits the year before, and figure out where it was going. And it would benefit you guys because it's so clear, you can see tire tracks in the dirt.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah, right,
it's,
yeah.
From above, it's distorted, but as you zoom in,
Right.
wow.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You can see
No, that's,
everything.
yeah.
Because even EPA was like, wow.
Yeah, it's
Starlink.
But the town pays $5,000 a year for the subscription to it. But we have 500 licenses, so anyone with a town email can have it. I'm gonna see Kelly tomorrow, I'll ask her again well, they've all got town emails now, so to get that out, I think that you would benefit from it greatly.
Yeah, it's a good tool.
It's almost better than having to go there.
All right. Order of conditions extension discussion, was that tied in there? Because the,
Yeah, that was supposed to be a document, I guess we
All
missed
right.
it. Order of conditions. Yeah, that was it.
okay. I didn't hear any other business that came in prior. Anybody have anything else for the commission?
We did get a new filing today for, I call it Perry Hill Road, they call it Trips Way, so for the final lot at Trips Way.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have a meeting in 2, well, for sure.
Yeah, plus we got the stone wall.
All right.
I think we got some other stuff coming in too.
I think Mark's gonna be looking for a partial COC on some of his stormwater stuff.
I took a ride by there. Hats off to the guy. He did
Yeah.
a great job. It looks awesome.
He paid dearly though.
Yeah,
That guy wasn't cheap.
yeah, it looks.
Even his replication looked pretty good. I stopped and looked on the way out.
I didn't notice the replication, but
It
I just,
it looked a little sparse, but that's what was approved, and maybe later on we'll get into the Rutland replication.
what is it Trips Way?
Trips Way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was looking good.
Yeah, it was looking real good when we were there.
Yeah, yeah, now it's like,
Grown in and everything
Oh,
else. Yeah, I took a ride there a couple weeks ago.
all right, future business. Next meet,
I just have a question on the site visit. There's, we have received an extension application for the Park Drive.
Sinkafa.
Sinkafa Park Drive, there, I know I was gonna
And I know
expire.
when you went out there, 3 years ago, it was snow covered. These new members would need to go, so
yeah.
you'll have a site visit there.
And it won't snow in
On
November.
the site
So,
itself.
Yeah.
We went to Park Drive, didn't we?
Yeah, we only looked at the,
I can go to that site visit. I'm not against the project. It's,
You just
I
said, you
recuse-
just know
I
somebody
recuse
that
my-
likes Lambert Street.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if my brother-in-law lives at the entrance, so.
that who- yeah, there's a.
That's got
That's why,
affiliation.
that's
Yeah.
why I
No, I
recuse
understand,
myself.
yeah.
That's got nothing to
Right,
do
but
with
the
the
site
project.
itself
So that's a
is
required
completely
site
different.
visit?
I'm asking the chairman, yeah, if
Right.
he wants to go there.
Well, it will be.
I mean, some of these members are new, they haven't been
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
right?
oh,
So,
absolutely.
I just wanted to set that up. Do you want to allow like a half an hour there? How long?
I'd take an hour.
An hour?
Yeah, I
An
would.
hour, okay.
Mm.
It's,
I just wanna
it's a
communicate to
huge
them.
site.
Pretty substantial,
and
huh?
It's both, yeah, actually, I could probably show you guys.
Should we bring it side by side?
In 2 weeks.
No motorized equipment back there, but,
Just the tree stand.
there's a lot.
We can bring a camel.
It's, it
Melissa's.
is,
burro,
it's an
maybe? A
extensive
burro?
hike.
Do you want it
Yeah.
last?
Yeah, I would put that last.
Yeah. We only have, what's the other one?
That way, we could do normal time schedule for the regular
So it's
site.
just Trips
Right.
Way then, and then shooting across over there? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
we
this
need to
would
go
be for,
back to-
in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And then obviously it'll be pouring.
Yeah, right.
So
Really
bring,
unbelievable hike in the woods.
bring your hiking boots, because like I said, it's, the one portion of it is on one side of the power lines, and it goes up kind of to the east, and then it goes up further north on the other side of the power line, so it's, we'll check out flags, see if the flags are still there.
That needs to be done, actually.
So
Yeah.
Joanne and I had a call with Andrew Point from DP, the circuit rider, to ask him, you know, how he would handle this.
Yes.
And Andrew said that if you can't read the numbers on the flags, if this flag's missing, it needs to be redone.
Right.
And then if there's any changed conditions, then you have to deny the renewal and have them then file a new application.
There gotta be a better way than flags then. So that's good.
I think the bigger issue is that.
Does the comments from Natural Heritage change any of this too?
Yes, so what happened was that wasn't under natural heritage when it was first permitted by you folks.
Right.
But it has recently, and Sincarfa has been telling the planning board, and maybe even us, that because it was filed after they got their notice of intent, that it's exempt, that it's not a take. Andrew Point said, if it's been mapped natural heritage since the last NOI, you shall deny the extension. And they will file a new, and they will go through natural heritage and do all
Right,
of
yeah,
that.
well, I mean, that can be streamlined though, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Natural heritage doesn't take a long time
Right.
anymore. Yes. And I believe that Sincarfa's got the politics to, you know, move that along.
well, I would just say just a CYA, us,
Yes.
do it that way.
So there was a MEPA, like, scoping session that Sincarfa had to hold last night. They've started the environmental notification process for their MEPA stuff there.
Yeah.
And because there's an environmental justice community within 1 mile of that project, they have to go through MEPA. And that's very similar to your situation down the road. And part of the talk, and two residents were on the call, and myself. One of them came to town hall yesterday and asked me to attend it. And they're now asking to keep the Brooks Avenue entrance open in the event that they don't get through MEPA with Lambert. So I think there's been some signals sent that there may be some issues with using Lambert Street.
Yeah.
And there was a big brouhaha over that. There was complaints about trucking and all of that. I asked the question, how many trucks? It's only 3 trucks a day. I really questioned whether you can take 34 acres of lumber off a job at 3 loads a day. And I cautioned them that you better make sure with your contractor that you can do that, because if that's what you put, that's what we're going to enforce.
Right.
So it was worked out last night that it would be 3 trucks a day, no more than 5. They agreed to that, Sincarfa agreed to that. That,
Are they gonna use the 18-wheeler ones?
well, the lumber guys will, yes.
Yeah, because.
They're looking to haul a lot of lumber.
They're gonna haul full logs.
Well, it's all, yeah, it's all.
Yeah, well,
And then the trucking would be from 9 to 2, but when the school buses aren't around. No trucks queued in the neighborhood, they'd be queuing in New Bedford and called into the job as the trucks leave. All the trucks leave down Ashley into New Bedford, they don't come through Acushnet.
Right.
There will be a dedicated truck route.
Yeah, the sign, I watched the planning board meeting, well,
No, but at this,
when
Sincarfa,
it- yeah.
the planning board was recommending it.
Yeah, and they said that they had submitted a plan, but they didn't really get like too.
So they went over that plan, and
Yeah.
I stepped out of my lane a little bit and said, you need a dedicated truck route, you need to have a penalty if the truckers avoid the truck route. You want to have placards inside the windshield of the truck that says Sincarfa, because if Deep Brook is going, everybody's going to get blamed for everybody else's trucks. And I've been through this. So, and then I told them, I said, when I pitch a project, the first thing I talk about is the 4 things: noise, dust, odor, and traffic. I'll tell you the 4 bad things right away. And he wrote it down and said, what's the 4th thing? And I said odor, and he said, I think that's a good idea. They liked the placards. There will queue no trucks in those neighborhoods. Nobody gets to get there early. If you get there early, you know, you're out. And there's possibly $125 or $150 fine if a trucker avoids the truck route.
Mhm.
And they said it wouldn't work. And I said, it does work because I did it. And I did it for, 10 years on the Big Dig. and when you tell the trucker he's getting a $150 penalty for using the route, he doesn't do it again.
Right.
And you've got the power of the pen. It's not like you're calling somebody and saying, don't pay the guy, they're writing the check. So I think that the two neighbors that were on got calmed down quite a bit. Everybody was shocked that it was only 3 trucks.
You can haul a lot, man.
And I explained that, whatever you've agreed to in your notice of intent, it is gonna be enforced. And that when we sat down with 550 that had the flood, and Joanne was there, I had them read the plans and said, if there's anything in here that you're not gonna do, tell me now, because I'm gonna enforce everything that it says. And the contractor said, I'm not ready. And they never came back and fixed it, and that's why they had the problem. So, Sincarfa,
We didn't do the stormwater controls in that.
No.
That project.
no. But luckily, they stepped up and cooperated.
Oh, no, I'm saying, for the site visit, the one we're going on a site
For
visit.
Sincarfa,
Yeah,
Mm.
we didn't do the stormwater.
and that may become a,
Yeah, so I don't even.
but it wouldn't delay them, because they're over a year out on MEPA.
Yeah,
If they get drawn in, they're gonna ask for a single environmental impact report, but it may wind up being a draft environmental report with a supplemental environmental report, and then a final
Yeah.
environmental report. And they have their doubts, and that's why they're requesting to keep Brooks Ave as an option.
yeah.
And there was a big skirmish over that last night, but
Yeah.
that's planning board's issue.
All right. So that sounds good. We'll have that for the last site visit on, what would that be?
Following Saturday.
Fourth.
November 18th.
No,
No,
it's like,
November
What do you
yeah,
want?
November 4th.
right.
4th.
Somewhere
It's a
around.
Saturday, and then the 8th is the
I'm
meeting,
sorry.
right?
Right, the
Yep.
8th is the
So
meeting.
November
Yeah.
4th. Okay, that sounds
Okay,
good.
where they go.
Now, what do you want to have Kevin McHugh zoom into the meeting on the 8th, on the regulation?
So we won't message you.
Nah.
What do you want to talk about it first?
Let's, I wanna go, I haven't, it's been a long time, I don't even know if I have the file anymore. I'd have to really look back to,
It's in the book, I put the regulation in the book,
I don't even have one of those books.
and we'll make you one.
Okay.
8th.
Yeah, I really wanna absorb it. So,
And it's about making it easier, it's not about making it harder.
right. Right, yeah, I wanna really look at that thing. Um,
And then something, just the last thing unexpected, is Article 2, has been pulled from town meeting that was gonna give Joanne her raise. So she's back to square one.
It's already been, yeah, squashed.
It's not going forward.
Mm.
But they were gonna try and make her take on a whole nother job for a $1.72 raise. So she was gonna be the planning board secretary as well as the conservation secretary.
In,
Have 4.
in that article?
Yes, for a whole $1.72.
Okay.
That sounds fair.
And Kevin stepped in and said, only if the employee agrees to it. I'm not having another employee quit on me or do anything.
Right.
And they never talked to her, they never approached her, and she found out watching the selectmen's meeting. So Kevin scrubbed it. So there
With
needs
my
to be
objection letter.
she wrote a letter saying, I'm not doing it.
Okay.
So, you are,
So is,
yeah,
are they coming up with a contingency plan here?
I don't
Don't
know.
nothing yet,
I doubt it.
right, I gotta talk.
And I think she's gonna have to draw the line in the sand and say, I'm not doing the work.
Yeah. It's going straight.
All right.
Stormwater takes more time than conservation.
What do I do?
All right.
That's all she does.
I don't know. It's just crazy.
I mean, this has taken up so much time, which is fine, but this commission has voted and.
Happy
it's over
clerk,
and
more
over.
work.
All right. I'll.
No, it's been it's a problem.
I'll reach out on that topic as well.
Yeah.
See
Yeah,
where
there you
we're
go.
at with it.
Yeah, that's
All right,
warranted.
Still an
so,
open discussion, right?
Mhm.
those
Yeah, I just wanted to make
agent
some-
updates.
Just wanted to make sure everybody knew, like, when people say they need to get equipment into, like, these areas to, like, get trees out and all that, you don't have to. you know, they don't wanna spend the money to do it, or take the time to do it. It's not about that there's not, because I know people that have grapple trucks, he can boom out like 500 feet and take a whole tree right out and lift it up and put it on the other side.
Yeah, it's,
Just want everybody to be aware, because I know not everybody's aware of how the tree works. But there's ways to do it.
yeah.
I use zip lines, all kinds of different things to get everything across, and that's just use one tree as a crane and zip it all down.
Right,
When people say they have to go into these areas to take stuff down,
yeah. You can use snatch blocks and.
there's all kinds of different ways.
All right, future business. Next meeting of the Conservation Commission will be on November 8th, 2023 at the Town Hall Meeting Room. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Is there
adjourn.
a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.